custom bandwidth infrastructure for scaling companies and for larger companies. So just about any company you can think of out there, any brand name in finance, sports, healthcare, content, they're probably customers of ours, but we love really being involved in the entrepreneurial startup community because a lot of startups, as they start to scale, they want to have private bandwidth infrastructure as well. That's what we do. Also relevant to you, we IPO'd about a year ago, which we're super excited about. And we have about 2,000 employees now, and a huge part of my job is keeping that entrepreneurial spirit that was there from the very beginning when there were only a few people. Now as we scale to 2,000 plus people, how we keep that spirit alive. So we're going to talk about that a bit today as well as a few other things. And thanks, Shannon. And before we get into this, I think we are all incredibly busy people, and it's anyone that knows me knows I'm a big fan of podcasts. This is one of my favorite. It's called On Being. And Krista Tippett recently interviewed a gentleman named Pico Iyer. And he said, we are analog creatures living at the speed of light. We have more information but less space to make sense of it. And so with that, I'll let you know that I'm only going to speak for about 20 minutes, and there's quite a bit of information, but I feel like I broke it down into nice nuggets. But I want to give you the space and the time to reflect and integrate, ask questions, have some commentary back and forth. That's definitely welcome. But to take a full hour, we can't actually cover all this in an hour, so let's just cover some interesting things that you can walk out the door with, and I want to give you some time back. All right, so why diversity and inclusion? They're big topics. You can't read a newsletter or a magazine these days without seeing these two words. However, they're not the same thing. They're related, but they're not the same thing. So if you could be honest enough, and my God, if I could hear you, when I say diversity, what comes to mind? Because it's kind of a shorthand for a lot of things, right? Anyone? Nobody? Thank you.
Redundancy.
Oh, redundancy. Okay, that's a new one. That's good. I can tell you that when I speak about diversity and inclusion, I often hear it's a quota. I hear, yeah, but why? Like, just hire great people. Like, why are we talking about this, right? And that's okay if you're thinking that. That's fair. What I want to explain is that as I said, they're related, but they're two different things. So diversity is a composition. It is a number, and I'll explain why that's important in the subsequent slides. Inclusion, however, is truly the yield out of that. It's what are you doing with that composition? What are you doing with that team? And I will tell you that getting to diversity is not easy, but getting to inclusion is even harder than that. But that's where the magic is. It really is. So we'll talk about that a little bit today too. All right, ethnic diversity. There's two types. There's ethnic and gender diversity. So ethnic diversity. If you're all part of startups, I assume because you're here today, right? Would you be happy being 25% more successful than your peers? 25%? All right, thank you, Dan. Thank you, Travis. Okay, well, how about 33%? So 33% more likely to outperform your competition by having a diverse team. That's pretty tremendous odds. And I'm banking on the fact that you would all like all the odds you can get to grow your idea. So ethnically diverse companies will financially outperform their less diverse competition. That's based out of the McKinsey report. So your job is to diversify the perspectives around the table, and you want to start now while you're still a smaller company, not waiting until you scale. Okay, so now we'll talk about gender diversity. Gender diversity, increase your odds. 15% above average financial returns. 15% above average financial returns, that's remarkable. And in fact, companies that are less gender diverse have below average financial returns. Not average, below average. So diversity does in fact matter. It matters to the bottom line. It's not just great for headlines. It matters in a lot of ways. Because you want that interesting perspective, you want the different lenses to then affect your ideas, your products, and your systems. It's everything that you're building as a company, right? But I'll tell you, it's hard, right? It's hard. It's really easy to say, oh, these are my friends, this is my network, I want to hire those people, I know them, they're a known entity. It is harder to reach out into other groups that you don't know, and I know that. However, what I'm hoping to do is implore you and show you that it is in fact worth it. So I'll show you a examples of how diversity works in the rest of our lives to just prove a bit of a point. So let's say you're like, oh, I'm super excited, I'm going to invest. Does the person helping you with your investment strategy say, let's just put everything into gold? Let's put everything into one stock? Probably not. Probably it looks something more like this. They're building you a diversified stock portfolio because they're building something for you to perform over time. And you're doing the exact same thing when you're building your teams for your company. All right, here's kind of a funny example, but I kind of like this one because it's so personal. There's a lot of kinds of deodorant out there. Apparently we like a lot of choices, right? So this is Target, this is Whole Foods, hundreds of types for hundreds and hundreds of different kinds of people. And think about that, you're building a product for a lot of different kinds of people in a lot of different markets. And what you probably wouldn't want is somebody in Boulder, even though I love Boulder, where I'm from, you probably don't want me making that choice for everybody else. Because this might work for me, I'm like, ooh, it's natural, it's organic, but it probably doesn't work for everybody else. So if you think about when you're developing products, don't you want those other perspectives at the table and in the room? So McKinsey goes all the way to saying that diversity is actually a competitive advantage, and they have proof that it moves market share your way, and it moves market share away from less diverse companies to more diverse companies. It is absolutely a competitive advantage, and it's worth being inspired by it and committed to it now while you're still small. The noise level's crazy in here. We often work at the University of Colorado in Boulder, and there's a great professor there who studies unconscious bias, which is a totally different workshop, but really interesting if you're interested in this topic, and inclusion. And I love this quote from him. He says, if your goals are creativity and innovation, which who wouldn't want that for their company, then diversity is and must. Because as you're building, oh, I gotta check my notes. Diversity yields those fresh viewpoints that you're looking for. It builds innovative teams, measured leadership and decisions. That new team becomes recruiting beacons, your culture prospers, and then your business prospers. So don't wait until you have more than a few employees. Start now. And of course, I'm consuming all of you who are smaller, but maybe you're bigger too. Applies to all of us. So this man, this is the CEO of Salesforce. Loves Salesforce. They're an amazing company. He has 16,000 employees, and he's incredibly committed to diversity. He now is on the record saying he wishes he had done this sooner. He wishes he had started sooner. And this isn't for a headline. Mark Benioff is saying this because he knows that it matters. He knows it matters to the bottom line, and it matters to innovation. And Salesforce will thrive for the next 5 years, 10 years, because it has a diverse and inclusive workforce. So that's a huge company making big strides. They're also spending quite a bit of money, time, and putting a chief diversity officer in place to do it. You don't have that opportunity yet, so that's why we're talking about bootstrapping diversity. What can you do without those resources at this time? So my title is People, Culture, Brand, so of course this slide's really, I love culture. Culture is everything for your company, and I'm sure that you have this great idea of what culture should look like for your company. So it's interesting when you ask someone what culture is, you'll get really interesting feedback like, oh, we have ping pong, we do free food. But what you're really looking for is culture is actually kind of the playbook of what does your company reward and what does it punish. And that's really kind of interesting if you think about it for a minute. And so as you think about that, what you want to bake in from the beginning is the reward and that punishment system around what's diversity's place in that? What is inclusion's place in that? And there should be words in that cultural kind of playbook around inspiring, bold, inclusive, things like that. Free food and all those are offshoots, those are great, but your culture is something meatier. It's bigger, it's much bigger than that. And so when you think about culture, you want to actually ladder up to vision. And vision should set minds on fire. And I want to say set minds on fire because I like to give vision the cocktail test. And the cocktail test means you're at a cocktail party and someone says, ooh, where do you work? And you say, oh, I work at da-da-da, and we're going to do this in the world. It has to come straight from the heart, which means your vision can't live in a PowerPoint. In fact, if your vision is living and it requires like a decklet to go through to deliver what your vision is, I implore you and I encourage you to kind of start over on that and get something down, find something remarkable. What's that kernel that people are like, ooh, it's so chewy, it's awesome. I believe in it. And then once they believe in it, they understand it, they memorize it, they live it, and then they can repeat it. And then that person starts to really, that culture, those values, they start to actually become the DNA of the company. And diversity and inclusion are part of that. It's built into who you are with every step that you take. It's an incredibly important part to doing this now and not waiting later and paying your chief diversity officer to figure this out for you. So with your, sorry, I jumped the gun, Shannon. So with your vision, you should think about that. I know it's a tall order, right? But you should set minds on fire, light up a room, go big, but be super brief. It's hard for us to memorize a lot of stuff. Obviously, look at these notes. So, okay, 4 steps. I promised you bootstrapping diversity. So here's 4 steps that don't cost you anything except time, which is pretty valuable to be clear. I get that. So 1, define a diverse vision. What is your vision? What's going to light up a room? What's going to have those innovative hearts and minds want to be a part of your vision? That's going to make them want to live it and propel it further than you ever thought it could go. A diverse talent will bring to the table ideas that might make you uncomfortable, but they're going to make you think about something that you hadn't thought about before, and that will absolutely help your business. So one of the 4 steps in making sure that you have diversity in your company is to define diversity as part of your vision. 2, create an inclusive culture. An inclusive culture, like we said, is that playbook. So getting that playbook right, really articulating that is important, but there's also other cues. When you walk into your office, even if it's a home office, that's cool. But when you walk in, does it feel like it's a place that's only for women? Does it feel like it's a place that's only for men? Does it feel like it's welcoming to other cultures? That does matter. When you go out with everybody that's, we're all in this together, we're a startup, to always go out for cocktails. That's not always awesome if some people have families. So thinking about making sure that your culture is actually inclusive in a lot of ways. Some of those are big decisions and some of those are little decisions. And the most important thing about an inclusive culture, and this is where diversity and inclusion, this is a key differentiator. Diversity means I have a diverse group of people around the table. I have people that don't look like me, think like me, they don't have the same background as me. But inclusion means I want them there. I want to hear what they have to say, even though they don't sound like me, and that makes me really uncomfortable. I want them around the table because I know they're going to say something that's going to push me to a place that I hadn't thought of. And that's where the innovation comes from. And that's why inclusion is harder, because that person's going to make you uncomfortable. They're not going to speak like you. They are going to have a very different background than you. And that's the magic. The inclusion is the magic. But you have to want them at that table, and that's why that part is harder. 3rd is your pipeline. It doesn't mean even just your pipeline. Maybe you're looking like, ooh, I'm going to make 1 more hire this year, or I'm going to make 100, right? That pipeline is incredibly important. But what about our pipeline that's a few years, what about your pipeline that's a few years down the road? Are you working with the local universities? Are you going to meetups? Are you mentoring any students? What are you doing to help encourage a diverse pipeline and these really curious minds to be part of this wonderful entrepreneurial community in the years to come? They need our help. They're looking for our help. You've got this amazing experience you can share with them that will encourage them to become part of our really interesting, innovative companies. And then 4th is accountability. Very critical. Again, you might have 1 leader now, you might have 5, you might get to a dozen already. That's awesome. Make sure that they're accountable. They're accountable for, I'm going into a meeting, it's going to be really interesting. You, and you come with me. It's awesome. Come get that experience. That accountability for, are you hiring a diverse set of talent? That's great, but are you including them? Are you listening to them? Do you want them there? Hold your leaders accountable for the culture and the vision that you've put out there, and making sure that they're driving it forward every day. I will tell you at Zayo, every day there is a very, very small moment or small decision, some words that I change to make sure that they're more inclusive and more interesting to a diverse population. There's also really big decisions. All of those decisions in between, from small to big, they're all important and they happen every day. Being accountable means that every one of those matters and you're committed to them. My last one, I always like to say welcome weird. better, right? Build your best company. Build the company you deserve with a diverse team, because diverse teams are primed for ideas. If you forge an inclusive culture, you will unleash potential that you didn't know you already had in you or in your company's idea. Hold your team and your growing culture accountable for those ideas and accountable for the inclusive barometer that you set forth. We've got some free resources listed out on the Zayo, if you go to Zayo.com website and go to the blog, we listed out a bunch of links to our community that we use. In fact, I should tell you, we don't have a Chief Diversity Officer either. We are doing this with our community partners, and we are in fact bootstrapping it as well. So remember I mentioned that we are still staying true to our entrepreneurial roots. We trust our community partners, we rely on them, we rely on friends, and we're doing this in a very authentic fashion. So I put some links to some of our favorite resources on our blog, and they're all free. So remembering that it's a global market, it's a new era, lead the way. Those big companies, I'm so glad that they're committed to this. It is harder for them to move that needle. It is easier for you. You are nimble, you are quick, you are small, you are gutsy. You can do this. And if you need any help or anything else, I hope you can tell that I'm very committed to this. DM me, email me, a little slow on the response, but I'll totally get back to you, because this does matter. And everyone in this room can make a difference, I guarantee, faster than some of those bigger companies. We have loud voices and we have a lot of influence, and I believe in everyone here in making a difference. One hire makes a difference. Making someone feel heard and making them feel valuable absolutely makes a difference. Someone you're going to mentor now or in the future will make a difference. That's the commitment to diversity and inclusion, and that's what will change things. So let's build companies that thrive, let's build their fullest potential. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments? That's fine. You're killing me with the questions. Yeah?
Hold on, let me get a mic.
Hang on, Bill's got you.
I just recently took on honor. I'm used to this. And what you were saying about building, and they have different ideas and stuff, and it is hard for me to listen to them. And
It is.
But you're right, and it's working.
That's great. That's great to share that. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
I suppose my question or comment, you could kind of get to this, revolves around company cohesiveness, or if it difference of opinions and different thoughts. Not that you want to be a pessimist for you, but how do you sort of balance cohesiveness and diversity?
Balancing cohesiveness and diversity, essentially. So there's some great resources and books right around unconscious bias, which is an interesting place to start. But I will tell you that there's an interesting differentiation between cooperation and collaboration. And cooperation essentially means that you and I are just going to agree, regardless of what you say. I'm like, yep, that's a great idea. You're a yes person. In fact, I spent 20 years in the advertising world and ad agencies as my background. And it was interesting, the number of clients who said, please just tell me like it really is. No one at work will do that. No one will disagree with me. So collaboration is, in the most respectful way, bringing a new idea to the table, which requires, it's very brave, right? But collaboration means making it a safe place for those ideas to come to the table and then kind of hashing it out. Not always comfortable, not always friendly, but you will get to the better place. Your product will be better, your service will be better. So I would say spend time learning how to collaborate with diverse groups. It does require a commitment to learning that too.
One pushback.
Oh, okay, Dan Cruz, so that's my boss.
One pushback we'll often hear when you're trying to encourage people to hire more diversity is they want to hire the best person available. And a lot of people view it as a trade-off. Am I supposed to hire the best person available, best person I can find, or do you want me to focus on diversity, like it's an either or choice? How do you respond when you get that kind of feedback?
That's a great question, and it is the most frequently asked whenever we talk about diversity, is, well, I just want to hire the best person. You're still hiring the best person, you just have to look harder. So, for example, there are times when we're looking to fill a role at Zayo, and we spend 1 month, 2 months longer because my immediate network doesn't have a diverse enough pool of candidates to find that best person who might also be diverse. We will still hire the best person, and we're hoping that they're diverse, but we don't. It's challenging. You just have to look harder, and it means using different networks. And probably there again, you guys starting small, your networks will be different. If you start from a more diverse place in the beginning, those networks will be diverse even as you scale. But you have to look harder. We are still, though, always hiring the best person.